Let's do it. It's hour number 2 of the early line. Joined by Donnie right side here on this Monday morning. We're looking at some of the top stories from college football. I got to tell you, college football week 0, right? What were the odds that there was going to be a major story coming out of that slate? Whatever the odds basically on Nebraska's money line were. My goodness, man. Or rather on Northwestern's money line. I mean, what are we doing here? What are we doing here in Nebraska? Every single time they lose, it is heartbreaking for this program. But this one, this felt like they really could justify firing Scott Frost at just the conclusion of one game. On College Football Today, which is myself, Joe Lisi, and Ben Stevens, Joe said, hey, if they lose, are they going to fire Frost? I was like, no, come on. And then the game happened, Donnie. And I'm genuinely wondering if we're going to get an announcement on Scott Frost being fired before their next game.
It's amazing because let's take a look at the two schools and the two fan bases here. Right. You're going to Ireland for this game. If you're buying tickets from a Nebraska Cornhuskers perspective, you're going out there. There's not a lot of pressure here, but you expect to win. That's what your trip is going to be. You go out there, win, come home. Let's see what we can do in 2022. New offensive coordinator, new scheme. Let's get after it. For Northwestern and their backers, hey, do you want to go to Ireland? Yeah, we'll drink some beers and watch a football game with no real impact because you didn't think you would win the game. Now, we're talking about firing Scott Frost. How about firing the defensive coordinator and the entire coaching staff? Because let's also remember, Northwestern did put up 31 points with Helinski, 314 yards and 2 touchdown passes. And then you almost had 2 guys, Hull and Porter, go over 100 yards against that defense. Watching that, sitting there, I'd say I probably could watch a good 2.5 quarters. You actually couldn't tell after the first quarter who the better team was. And it looked like Northwestern was the better team and just waited out the Cornhuskers. That is a terrible loss because this was one of those wins. If you got it for Nebraska, you're excited for the rest of the year. It almost feels like it's lights out already after week. You're not even in week 1. You're lights out after week 0 for Nebraska.
This is a team that was booked as the second option to win the Big Ten West. After half, Donnie, trailing by 3, they forced a punt. They scored a touchdown. One play into the next Northwestern drive, they forced a fumble, and 17 seconds later, we're into the end zone. 28-17, all of the momentum in the world. And as Scott Frost is out there trying to blame the entire thing on Mark Whipple, by the way, for those that have not been following this situation closely, Mark Whipple was brought in, and they said, Scott Frost, don't you dare even remotely contribute to any of the offensive ideas. This is his, which Frost is not happy about. It's why he's blaming the entire thing on Mark Whipple. But, Donnie, whose fault is it that they did an onside kick at 28-17 and a minute and 16 seconds later gave everything back to Northwestern that they had worked for?
As a head coach, all you did in that environment was say, you know what? I don't really trust my defense all that much to get a stop. Because what happened, Scott, if you would have kicked off deep, they took the touchback, and you 3-and-out Northwestern. That game is over. Well, I still got a whole quarter left. No. That game is over because all the air is out of the sails. Yeah. You gave Northwestern a pulse, and that's all they needed at that point to get the football around midfield and say, yay, you guys just gave us a free one here. Even if Nebraska gets that onside kick, is there a guarantee, Kevin, they drive down and score a touchdown, even kick a field goal at that point, or the game is over if they get it? Ludicrous move by Scott Frost.
Such a bad move. Our radio audience is here on Monday morning, though. I'm Kevin Walsh, again, joined by Donnie right side, the early line, Sirius XM channel 159. Another piece of college football headline news still involving the Big Ten. Michigan, the Wolverines, their quarterback plan for this upcoming season, a bit unique. 2 guys in the mix, Cade McNamara and J.J. McCarthy. McNamara will start the season opener against Colorado State. And then McCarthy is going to start the second game against Hawaii. And from Harper, I said, then after the week 2, they will make a decision going into week 3 on the starter and the backup. What do you think about this plan here for the Wolverines?
Yeah, one of the stupidest things I've ever heard, but it doesn't surprise me coming out of, Harbaugh and what he thinks is best for the team. Because when I started to read the original tweet coming out from Michigan, I'm like, oh, okay, he's basically saying we don't really have a start at this point. But you know what? This guy probably earned the nod, and we'll go with that. And it almost read like a terrible novel, which said, we can't really decipher between the two. You start this game, you start the next game. Now, granted, has anybody ever been in a competition where you're playing, I don't even care if it's, hey, starting pitcher for the day, or, starting point guard in high school basketball, or starting quarterback for a Division II, III, or whatever college football team. Everybody likes decisiveness. Hey, coach, am I the starter? Good. Okay. Now it's my job to keep and win. If you know that you're starting this game and the guy is going to start another game behind you, what do you do here? Hey, by the way, look at this. We're going to hand off inside the 5. Yeah, watch this audible. I'm going to throw another touchdown pass here. Or 3rd and 4, hand the football from midfield. We're going to punt. I'm not doing that. I need to get my yards up. I'm looking at the scoreboard right now. I only got 162 yards at the half. I need to throw for at least 300 so I can try to keep my – this is terrible, Harbaugh. Like, what are you doing here? Pick a quarterback. If he doesn't play well, you go to the next quarterback. That's the evolution of football. That's why it works. It's why we don't have 2 quarterbacks in the NFL. Why? Because it doesn't work at any of the highest levels, you idiot.
Here's the thing, though. As someone that picked Michigan to make the college football playoff on College Football Today the other day, this doesn't bother me at all, and it goes to show why I picked them to make the college football playoff. You know why they're doing this, Donnie? Because the game against Colorado State and the game against Hawaii, yeah, that's preseason football, baby. And you know what they do next week? They play UConn. I'd start McCarthy at running back if he doesn't win the job over McNamara. Easy wins coming. We'll be right back.
Fantasy Sports Today.
Josh Jacobs, after winning the Offensive Player Rookie of the Year a few years ago, kind of been back and forth as far as his possibilities go. When he's on the field and he's running, he looks as good as anybody in the NFL.
For whatever reason, I don't know what his relationship is like with Josh McDaniels, but it seems like whatever they are seeing from him, they don't want him to be a full-time running back. So at the price that he costs, pretty much no way.
The Sports Grid Network. The Early Line.
Paul Goldschmidt is minus 1450 to win the NL MVP award. The question is not whether this guy is going to win the NL MVP. It's can he get the NL Triple Crown?
You know who's number 2? Nolan Arenado on the same team. 25-1. Arenado's not jumping him at this point, so Paul Goldschmidt looks like he locked this thing up.
Only on Sports Grid. The morning after.
Scott Frost in 4 seasons, just 6-17 against his divisional opponents. If they are going to win a Big Ten West title, if this is finally the year the offseason hype meets regular season results, it will happen through that division.
Ultimately, it's going to come down to beating teams like Minnesota, Iowa, and Wisconsin, and I'm not quite there yet. We'll see how it unfolds, but Nebraska's struggled with all 3 of those programs.
The Sports Grid Network.
You might be the next daily fantasy millionaire. No matter what you watch or where you play, learn from the world's best DFS players. Lineup building tools, expert projections, and advanced stats change the way you play the game. Dominate the competition. DailyRoto.com, the player's choice.
Sports Professor Rick Horrow inside the $1.3 trillion business sports with your Sports News Minute. Well, kudos to the WNBA. Their regular season average of over 400,000 was a 50% increase over last set of years and a high watermark of 800-some thousand for the last regular season game, highest since Candace Parker's debut game in 2008. It's a big deal for stability of the league, and certainly with the NBA backing it, with ESPN promoting it, with other platforms carrying it, and with superstars dominating it, it is another banner year for the WNBA. A few years ago, we constantly talked about survival, and we're clearly not doing that. Now women's sports elevates to an entirely new level as well. The WNBA takes its place and continues to grow. Sports Professor Rick Horrow, Sports News Minute.
League Baseball preview coming your way. I just quickly, Donnie, did anything else from week 0 of college football catch your attention? I know we didn't have the biggest programs in action on Saturday, but still a lot of fun games to follow. Did anything else catch your eye?
No, not really. It was pretty uneventful here other than watching college football being live on TV. But I think this week, it's nice to get the taste because if week 0 is any indicator, like, oh, all right, it's going to be exciting football, it didn't give us all that much. But once we get those top 25 football teams in order and playing this weekend, it's going to be fun to watch. So that was my leave it. It's nice to have football back in our lives. Now I'm ready for the main course.
I was interested in that UNC FAMU game quite a bit, just to see how it all finished up, right? Considering the, 30, there was a 32s, the 34s, it closed 44.5. They didn't show up with 20 starters or all this craziness around the game. 56-24 UNC won. Just a weird game. Will we see anything like that throughout the rest of the college football season? Probably not, but again, a really interesting start to the year. We move over to Major League Baseball preview here for you, though, and it does start off with Dodgers-Marlins as they're going to finish it out here on a Monday. Whenever the LA Dodgers are in action and on the card, the expectation is a win. Today, no different. A -220 favorite on the road with Tony Gonsolin having the ball. Total here is a 7 against Lopez. Any value in this game?
Yeah, we're looking at an under here. Big ballpark there in Miami for sure. But I got to tell you, when you wake up and you sort of get this board together, you see the Dodgers and Marlins together, and you don't see Alcantara on one side. So what are you figuring? -275 or higher. Now, it just flipped up there to a -225. So it is changing a little bit, and it's actually coming lower, which I don't understand, to be honest with you. I don't. I figured this line would be much, much higher than this. One of those where you really target a run line because Gonsolin has been so spectacular, and that lineup leaves a lot to be desired for the Marlins. So if I'm going to say that the run line should come in here for the Dodgers at a -128 price, I would agree with that. But also, more than likely, this game screams 4-1, 4-2, 5-1, somewhere in that range. I think the Dodgers win easily and the game stays under the total tonight.
Tony Gonsolin is someone that we were a little interested in right after the All-Star break, maybe a little bit leading into the All-Star break. You could argue, and you'd probably win the argument, that he's now pitching the best he has all season long in the month of August. He's allowed just 2 runs over 23 2/3 innings. That's good for a .76 ERA. Strikeouts have had a couple of games where it's been big, but he's not been reliant on it. And by the way, one of those games against Kansas City was on the road, but Milwaukee twice and San Diego another time. Those are teams that are fighting for playoffs positioning there, and Tony Gonsolin has been everything that the Dodgers wanted, and that's very important. This is the World Series favorite Game 1 starter, right? I think everybody agrees on that. Now that Walker Buehler's done for the season, I don't think Kershaw comes back and commands the ball over Gonsolin. This isn't the All-Star game, so him playing like this is very, very important. The St. Louis Cardinals, we've talked a lot about the fact that the Cardinals had the easiest schedule remaining in Major League Baseball, and it's because of stuff like this. -240 favorite on the road today. Why? It's the Cincinnati Reds that they're going up against. The total here is a 9.5. Are you looking side or you're looking runs?
I'm looking actually for runs, too. Maybe even a total for this game altogether, Kevin, at 9.5. You should get 10 runs there, but the catalyst is certainly going to be those St. Louis Cardinals. And the thing I like about the Cardinals, it's one of those fun teams in baseball that you look at for handicapping purposes. It doesn't matter. Like, you say, I'm waiting for a lefty on this team to match up against because that's who they really get after. Oh, look, once or twice a week they might have it. But every single day, Monday through Sunday, you look at the Cardinals, lefty or righty, their team is really raking here. You look at the last 30 days in Major League Baseball against a right-handed pitcher in Anderson they're going to face tonight. Look at some of these weighted on-base percentages. 460, 423, 448, 458, 363, 346. This game should go over the total, and maybe St. Louis just gets it all by themselves here.
The thing for the Cardinals, this is still the kind of games that you need to handle your business in order to make sure that you're keeping the Milwaukee Brewers at bay. The Cardinals have jumped, by the way, and this is actually a move this morning, -1250 to win the NL Central. That is a massive, massive price. The thing is, the Brewers, you could argue, find themselves in an easier series coming up against the Pittsburgh Pirates. because they're at least home for that series there against Pittsburgh overall. In fact, this is a lighter part of the Brewers' schedule coming up, which then transitions to 3 games against Arizona and another 3 against Colorado, though those back 6 are on the road. So if it's going to be at any point for the Brewers, it's going to have to be now. So again, certainly stuff that we will follow. We'll get to that game in a minute, but I want to get to Cubs-Blue Jays first because of how important this is for the Toronto Blue Jays to right the ship. Swept at home by the Los Angeles Angels. Well, they're home again as a minus 250 favorite against the Chicago Cubs. Can the Blue Jays stop the bleeding, Donnie?
They should be able to stop the bleeding, but having said that, Jose Barrios leaves a lot to be desired last 30 days in Major League Baseball with an xFIP of close to 5. But here's where some things start to move in his direction, maybe favor him a little bit here. Strikeout percentage over the past month, only 19%. That's not good enough. Let's take a look at his splits, Kevin. Barrios is a right-handed pitcher, so going up against lefties, how about this? 71 that he's faced over the last 30 days in Major League Baseball. It's been terrible. A 376 weighted on base percentage and an ISO of 292. Now, having said that, if you flip it over and see how he's done against right-handed batters, 45 of them that he's faced, a 282 weighted on base percentage and a 100 ISO power number. So that's the side that he wants to pitch against. If we're looking at the Cubs entering into today, including switch hitters, which would be Happ, Ortega, and Rivas, that's just 3 out of the 9 batters actually coming from the left-hand side, the rest from the right-hand side. So pitching into a strength here for Jose Barrios. And also, take a look at the Cubs side. Assad will be on the mound here. 6.19 as an xFIP over the past 30 days. Low strikeout percentage. Lefties and righties, only 20 of them combined that he's faced. This should be a win for Toronto. But having said that, he's got swept by one of the lowly teams in Major League Baseball in the Angels. But they should be able to bounce back once again at home against the Cubs.
Let me just say, one interesting thing every single time we get to Barrios is that he is someone you target. He was brought into Toronto not all that long ago as a big deadline acquisition. Kevin Gausman, Alek Manoah, that's your front line. You know, Donnie, if the Toronto Blue Jays find themselves at a 3rd game of the wild card round, Manoah and Gausman likely, if they're able to set things up perfectly, have been used. Is it out of line to say that this team's going to have to turn the ball over to Ross Stripling in a do-or-die game before they give it over to Jose Barrios?
Yeah, it's amazing, right? This guy was brought in, you're right, to be the stopper for this team, the next level guy, the guy that can go on the mound and at any time, Kevin, give you 7 innings, 1 earned run, and 10 strikeouts. It hasn't been that guy. And in those win-or-take-all type of games, It would be crazy if he doesn't get that baseball if he's eligible to pitch. That would just be an admission there from Toronto's front office. We made a mistake, and he's not the guy we thought he was.
The thing is, you have to make, those kind of, you have to admit something like that. Otherwise, it could cost you your season. Let's try and sneak in Red Sox Twins here. Bundy is a favorite against Bello. I don't think that matters. I see 8.5. It has to be the total. Bundy Bello has to be the total here, Donnie.
It should be. Now, take a look at Bello over the past 30 days here. A 1.38 xFIP number, Kevin, through 26 batters. He's handling his business there. Now, here's something where you might have to take a leap of faith with, right? We're not in love, obviously, with this Boston lineup per se. But Bundy does have a 5.23 xFIP over the past month, 12% strikeout rate, which is terrible. But here's where sometimes these things don't make so much sense. You say, okay, xFIP number, he's due to get hit. He hasn't gotten hit, Kevin. 39 batters he's faced from the left-hand side over the past month in baseball. How about this? 171 weighted on base percentage and an ISO of 083. Flip it over to right-handed batters. 55 who's he's faced over the past month. That's a 279 weighted on base percentage and a 157 ISO. These pitchers really match up against each other pretty well in this game. So even if you were looking at saying this game has to go over because Bello's on the mound, he hasn't been all that bad, K-Dub, under the last 30 batters that he's faced here.
No, do it again. Do it again, except say you like the over. There's no way that just that. There's no way that Bello has flipped it around. The last time I feel like we were breaking down a Brayon Bello start is that it was going to be nothing but 1,000 runs scored. I think I got that
really
right.
Brayon?
Give it a look. Give it a look. I think I got
Hit
that
him up
right.
with a
Be right back.
FANU.
Your heart's racing. The clock's running out. It all comes down to this. We're talking pregame. 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 Get locked in with Game Time Decisions. Your hosts, Gabe Morency and Cam Stewart, will get you ready for game time. Everything you need to know before a game goes off the board, with the bet slips to back it up. Make your best bet with live odds updates, late breaking news, up-to-the-minute injury reports, and real-time analytics from inside the sportsbooks. All the odds, all the action, from sports wagering insiders and industry pros like Donnie Rightside, Cam Lou, Cousin Sal, the Pro Football Doc, Dr. David Chow, and more. Get the winning edge every weekday afternoon from 6 to 7 p.m. Eastern, 3 to 4 Pacific. It's Game Time Decisions. Only on Sports Grid. The early line.
There's too many question marks for me, DRS. The talent drop-off that he is dealing with from those dogs over at Clemson and what OU is going to have on the defensive side of the football is quite a bit. Donnie, since when is OU not just filling out, right? At least first team all offense. That's just not the way this group lines up here. Too many question marks for me year one. The schedule's too easy to go under the 8.5.
Only on Sports Grid. The morning after.
Where do you rank the Nets in the Eastern Conference? Are they a top 3 team, a top 5 team? Are they the favorites in your mind?
I think Boston's better than them. I think Philadelphia's going to be a resurgent team. Look for them to be better. And listen, folks, they don't have an easy start. New Orleans, Toronto, Memphis, Milwaukee, Dallas to begin the season. There's too many unknowns with this team. I think you go under 52.5 for the Nets.
The Sports Grid Network. Pharrell, coast to coast.
I think both the Braves and the Mets are playoff teams. They are two of the top 3 best teams in the National League, and quite frankly, neither of them are going to get the bye. The bye is going to the Los Angeles Dodgers, who are by far, not kind of the best team in baseball, by far a wide variety and margin the best team in Major League Baseball. They're going to get the bye, so one way or the other, the Mets are going to be in a situation that they're going to have to grind through all of October, as are the Braves.
The Sports Grid Network.
If you want to pick like a pro, you need to be in the know. The future of sports gaming is now, and we take you inside the lines, breaking down all the action and what it means for your bet slip. Turn down the game and tune into Sports Grid Radio. Other networks talk sports talk, but we walk the walk, right up to the window. Sports Grid Radio.
Listen free on the Sports Grid Radio app, iHeart, or TuneIn, or catch us on Sirius XM Sports Grid Channel 159.
Baseball preview rolls on here. We mentioned the Pirates starting a very important series against the Milwaukee Brewers. Right now, I do not see early lines here for this game, which means that we're probably waiting on a starter. Typically, it would be from the lower team, maybe the Pittsburgh side. We need some information on. It does appear that Corbin Burnes is going to have the ball for the Brewers. But, Donnie, I am sure that you're aware of a projected starter from Pittsburgh, and maybe it's someone that you're targeting?
Yeah, there's 2 of them here. It looks like it's between Stevenson for Pittsburgh and JT Brubaker. So obviously you'd rather have Stevenson on the mound, but they're both right-handed pitchers, so you can still sort of factor in what could take place. Now, if it is Stevenson on the mound, a 5.41 xFIP over the past month, Kevin, he's faced 50 batters. Take a look at this. Left-hand side, 27, a 515 weighted on base percentage, coupled with an ISO of 440. Right-handed batters, 362, and then you have a 174 ISO power number there. You have a nice mix of lefty and righty batters in the lineup today for those Brewers. But if it is Brubaker, you still have a right-handed pitcher, not a dominant right-handed pitcher. There's a lot of elevated ISO power numbers here for the Brewers. So that's the way I'm leaning. It's a team total over, per se, for the Brewers. If it's Stevenson, you get a little bit of an extra bump behind that. Brubaker is a little bit better pitcher than Stevenson is, not by a wide margin, but that's the way I'd lean. As long as a right-handed pitcher is on the mound, we're leaning towards those Milwaukee Brewers on the team total.
With all that, then you can expect the Brewers to be one of the biggest favorites on this slate with Burns having the ball. Another one of the big favorites on the slate is the New York Yankees on the road, though, against these red-hot Los Angeles Angels. Frankie Montas has the ball. The Yanks are about a minus 190 favorite here. The total is an 8. I'm really interested to see where you go because I know the last time Frankie Montas had the ball, you were looking towards that team total over. He was able to skip damage, though, against the Mets a couple of times, especially early in that game. 5 2/3 innings, 2 earned runs. Probably would argue with the strikeout pitches working as well, 6 Ks. His best outing as a Yankee. Do you think Montas has built enough momentum, or maybe you're targeting a total here?
Yeah, this is interesting because you're taking a look at two teams where it's nice that the Angels did get a 3-game win streak. They can remember actually how to win baseball games. But if we're lining up pitcher versus pitcher, I don't know if the Yankees should actually be in that minus 184, minus 185 range here at the FanDuel Sportsbook. And the reason being is you're right. Montas struggling a little bit over the past month in baseball, an xFIP approaching 5. And take a look at his lefty-righty splits. Keep in mind also, Montas is a right-handed pitcher. A 359 weighted on base percentage of lefties, a 372 to righties. Now, let's flip it over because the Yankees starting to wake up out of that shell, and from left-handed pitching, they've really done well, Kevin, over the past month here, and also in their strikeout numbers. Outside of Gleyber Torres, who has about a 30% strikeout rate against left-handed pitching over the past 30 days, everybody else has been really good, which means balls are in play. But let's take a look at Suarez, who has close to a 4 xFIP, which isn't great. It isn't terrible. Nice strikeout percentage of 25%, but look at his splits, Kevin. Again, Suarez is a left-handed pitcher to lefties. He's only faced 9 batters, but that's a 225 weighted on base percentage and an ISO power number of 0. But get this, 83 batters he's faced over the past month. From the right side, a 247 weighted on base percentage and an ISO of 076. Now, you do have some nice power right-handed bats here in the lineup for the Yankees, so you're trying to say to yourself, all right, who's going to win out, who's going to lose out in this game? Do you trust those big Yankee right-handed bats up against Suarez in a pitcher's ballpark? That's what you're going to have to determine. But I don't agree that the Yankees should be a favorite of that much tonight. I don't.
I'll say with this series, of course, it's Aaron Judge versus Shohei Ohtani. The shame of it is, usually we do pitcher versus pitcher, right? Remember the Verlander Cease thing? You're like, yeah, but it's not like Verlander's going to strike out Cease or vice versa. The rarity of the Ohtani Judge thing would have been the potential for a head-to-head. Unfortunately, we are going to miss out by just one day getting Ohtani versus the Yankees. In fact, it would have been, based on the projected starters, Ohtani versus Garrett Cole. You actually could have sold me on the idea that Ohtani would have re-entered the AL MVP race if he was pitching one of the games in this series, had a 7 scoreless, struck out Judge multiple times while going deep. But I really do believe, DRS, that since Ohtani is not going to make a start in this series, now look, Judge is already a minus 900 favorite. Most people would tell you this has been, done for a very, very long time. But if Ohtani would have started and been able to strike Judge out a couple of times, I think it would have piqued the interest of people.
That would have. It certainly would have. And at least now you're saying, most people wake up on a Monday are so ingrained in football and the NFL starting up in about a week and a half that they're not paying attention to the Angels as is, where they wouldn't even know they just won 3 games in Toronto and we're playing a headline series against the New York Yankees because they've been so far in the back of our minds at this point. Now, you also saw the rumblings. It's never over, as we like to say, till it's over. Oh, look, Verlander before last week. He really locked up the AL Cy Young Award winning. But not the case now. He's injured. So there are those things left out. Let's just say Aaron Judge, again, doesn't even get injured here, but just plays so-so baseball from now to the end of the season. He still should easily walk away with the MVP award. But then again, what happens, as we like to say, with Shohei Ohtani? What happens if Shohei Ohtani goes out there and dominates on the mound for the remainder of the month and also hits a home run every other game? Now, we're talking about some ridiculous scenarios, don't get me wrong, but it's never over till it's over, and every time you can put together a nice hit streak, win streak, or even a strikeout streak, which Ohtani can do, you'll move those numbers a little bit. You will.
What also is likely to happen in this series is Judge will hit his 50th home run. And that'll be a big moment as well for the season because, by the way, the gap between Judge and the next closest home run hitter is at the moment 14 home runs. I mean, Judge, again, just a whole different ball game this season in that regard. The Phils are going up against the Arizona Diamondbacks. Ranger Suarez here against Madison Bumgarner. Total is a 9. The Phils have done a really, really nice job for the most part, handling their business. We know coming off of a loss here, but still seeing Mad Bum, the expectation to me would be some Phillies runs perhaps.
Yeah, it should be some Phillies runs tonight because if we look at the lineup that's anticipated tonight, 2 left-handers in there will be Schwarber and Harper. Obviously, they're not going to get benched. So then we have 7 right-handed batters going up against Mad Bum, who over the past month has been, it's basically every single month. It's not like Mad Bum's having a bad month. He's just having a bad end of his career here. 5.50 xFIP number, doesn't strike out a lot of batters. Fly ball pitcher here. He has done well, Kevin, against left-handed batters. Only 21 he's faced over the past month to the tune of a 249 weighted on base percentage. But that story does change and changes quite drastically when he's facing right-handed batters. Take a look at this. 85 batters he's faced over the last month in Major League Baseball. 440 weighted on base percentage. 291 ISO power number. So those right-handed batters matching up against a left-handed Bumgarner, they've done damage, and the Phillies should do that again. Ranger Suarez, it's been a nice little pitcher here over the past month. 3.65 xFIP number, strikeout percentage close to 25%, ground ball rate, which we don't give enough love to, 56%. So if you're keeping the ball on the ground, it's staying in the yard, and he's got some really good splits, Kevin. To lefties, a 117 weighted on base percentage. To righties, a 276. ISO power numbers are low. The Phillies should win. If I'm looking for the Phillies in this game, I'm just going head-to-head. Suarez versus Bum, these two lineups going against each other. And also, that caveat, when do we really like the Arizona Diamondbacks, Kevin, against right-handed pitchers, not lefties? Let me just give you a quick split here on how they match up against left-handed pitching, just particularly over the past 30 days. 077 ISO power number. We're going to go right down the list here. 0, 111, 0, 056, 0, 0, and 067. Phillies win this game. I'll take them on the run line first 5 innings.
How about that? Let me ask you something quickly. Bryce Harper back in this series against the Pittsburgh Pirates. It just happened. He had a hit in every single game. He's so good. But I'm curious for you, right? Because I know you're not only always kind of following the team totals, right? But player props, 2+ bases, Dinger Tuesdays tomorrow. How long will you need for you to be willing to consider Bryce Harper in those markets?
Not long at all. Like, if he has an advantageous matchup, I'm going to take him right away because this is a guy that was, it's a thumb injury, so still able to stay in shape throughout those 2 months that he was off. Once he got back in the batting cage, all indications where his swing is fine. Like, there's no pain coming from his, thumb at that point. Goes right to the minor leagues, Kevin. When I would have taken a pause at, we need him to get here up as soon as possible. How'd he do in his minor league start? 1 for 17 with 13 strikeouts. Ooh, he's coming up. Let me wait till he gets back together. But right away, knocking 2 home runs in that first start at AAA. He's back in full force right now.
Yeah, he's ready to roll. Another thing that has really helped the Phillies is it looks like Castellanos is going to be able to lock in his first month as a 300 hitter in a Philly uniform. Nice. Overall, the last 30 days, he's batting about 312. It's been really, really good. Last game here, Donnie, Giants and Padres. Rodon is a favorite against Clevenger, but I have to say, minus 138 at home, I don't think people will be scared off of that number on Carlos Rodon. Is that the number that's piquing your interest in this baseball game?
Yeah, well, if we take a look here, from a Clevenger point of view, because we're trying to just take those snapshots here of how they've been faring over the past 30 days, and Clevenger's been terrible. He's got close to a 7 xFIP, which, again, leads into some of those peripheral numbers, right? Not striking out a lot of guys, walking too many guys. And how about his ground ball percentage? I just talked about Ranger Suarez, over 50%, which is great. Keep the ball on the ground. Ball doesn't leave the ball yard. Less chance of actually getting extra base hits. But look at Clevenger here. Only 23%, Kevin, of the guys that came up have actually hit the ball on the ground. That means line drives and fly balls, which is devastating. And also, if you take a look at San Diego's pitcher here, Clevenger going up against lefties over the past 30 days, a 341 weighted on base percentage. You have more lefties than righties in the lineup tonight for those San Francisco Giants. So maybe a team total outlook here also on the Giants tonight.
I got to tell you, if we're lining up a team total and Rodon has the ball, under minus 140 right now, minus 138 to be exact on the San Francisco Giants. If you're looking to bet a money line there, I think of all the games we talked about, might just be the most enticing number on this slate. A fantastic set of games there. Frankie Montas and the Yanks going up against the Angels. Brayon Bello against the Minnesota Twins. The Cardinals start the slate off. A lot of good stuff for us to follow. The SEC win totals and close it out.
If you want to pick like a pro, you need to be in the know. The future of sports gaming is now, and we take you inside the lines, breaking down all the action and what it means for your bet slip. Turn down the game and tune into Sports Grid Radio. Other networks talk sports talk, but we walk the walk, right up to the window. Sports Grid Radio.
Listen free on the Sports Grid Radio app, iHeart, or TuneIn, or catch us on SiriusXM Sports Grid Channel 159.
The morning after.
Where do you rank the Nets in the Eastern Conference? Are they a top 3 team, a top 5 team? Are they the favorites in your mind?
I think Boston's better than them. I think Philadelphia's going to be a resurgent team. Look for them to be better. And listen, folks, they don't have an easy start. New Orleans, Toronto, Memphis, Milwaukee, Dallas to begin the season. There's too many unknowns with this team. I think you go under 52.5 for the Nets.
The Sports Grid Network. Fantasy Sports Today.
The chemistry that Kelsey and Mahomes have is just so great. He is the longest tenured Chiefs player on offense right now. Like, he is the guy who's been there with Andy Reid and with Mahomes the longest. I think the only pass catcher on the roster who would have caught a pass when Alex Smith was the quarterback of the Kansas City Chiefs. Like, that kind of institutional memory for Kelsey, I think he's just locked into 90 receptions, 1,000 yards. I just don't think he can be worse than that.
The Sports Grid Network. The early line.
Paul Goldschmidt is minus 1450 to win the NL MVP award. The question is not whether this guy is going to win the NL MVP. It's can he get the NL Triple Crown?
You know who's number 2? Nolan Arenado on the same team. 25-1. Arenado's not jumping him at this point, so Paul Goldschmidt looks like he locked this thing up.
Only on Sports Grid. Pharrell, Coast to Coast.
I did have a source told me the Bills were not aware when they drafted him in the 6th round. However, they were aware when they cut Matt Hawk. You can only walk up to a certain line and say, okay, they knew that this may be coming, and they still stuck with him anyway. So I think that the fan base is upset about that. It sounds to me as though Matt Araiza and his agent were just hoping that this was going to go away and nobody was going to find out about it. And they were sadly mistaken.
The Sports Grid Network.
Let's do it. We're talking some college football, SEC. We're going to do the SEC, and we're going to get you the Pac-12 as well. We like to talk about the top teams, and then we make sure that we give you our favorite win total overall. We started off with the national champion favorite, Alabama. This team starts their season off with Utah State. They're a roughly 40-point favorite. That's a Utah State team that was in action in week 0 and kind of struggled against UConn. Alabama, it's a basic yes/no. Will they be unbeaten in the regular season? Plus 125 for the S, 11.5, Donnie, minus 150 towards that under. What do you think of the Crimson Tide's win total?
Isn't it hard to take an under on this? They have to be perfect in order to cash in this check, which means anything can go wrong that could go against them. Maybe they don't play as well as we thought they would against a certain opponent on the road, or a quarterback gets injured, or a key wide receiver goes down. But I can't find myself taking the under, Kevin. I just can't do it because we look, and here's the opposite end of the spectrum. We're going to do this so many times, and I've done it already. I like to look at their toughest games. And I feel like when I look at Alabama's schedule, there's no tough games because they're Alabama. That's the team that you're looking to say your toughest game on the schedule. But having said that, Kevin, A&M is on that schedule, at Arkansas, at Tennessee, at LSU, at Ole Miss. Think about that. Usually a team is going to enter into the season you know what? If we can win this game in late September and then win this other game in early November, we can play for a national championship. They have legitimate 5 tough games and milling around through that SEC, which you're still going to have to play teams like Auburn that are the Iron Bowl. It's almost like a Super Bowl down in Alabama at this point. But I still look at this by saying, if I have, I don't know, the best defensive player in the country on my team, I have the best overall player at quarterback who's on my team, Nick Saban is my head coach, where do I sign up? Sometimes we take a look at these divisions and match them like, oh, I need an extra time to get ready for it. You just see Alabama and you go, yep, they're going to win the SEC. I still take the over. I still do, Kevin.
Here is the thing with Bama and this spot, is I think you might look at Nick Saban and think, oh, man, he's unbeaten all of the time. Since 2010, Donnie, just 3 unbeaten regular seasons. Now, that's the bar that he set, that I say only 3 unbeaten regular seasons. But this is not a winning proposition to just assume that they will run the table. But also, I do think they're going to run the table. Here is what I'm wondering if it will be posted before the season, because we've seen this before. Alabama to go unbeaten plus win the national championship. That is something then that I would be a little interested in, right? Climb the ladder. What would you be able to secure maybe? 3-1? Do you think, Donnie, 4-1 maybe on a number like that? Alabama to be unbeaten plus win the national championship?
Yeah, I mean, that's if they go unbeaten through the season, they're going to be the number 1 overall seed, and rightfully so. That would sound about right, yeah.
Yeah, so if you can get a number like that, because I also don't want to lay minus 150. With this schedule, what is the trip-up spot? I don't think Texas, despite it being on the road, has enough juice. I don't think Texas A&M, honestly, is going to – I don't think they're as good as that 6 number next to them, and the game is, at Bama. That's a tough sell. Ole Miss? That's the problem, Donnie. What's the trip-up spot here for the Crimson Tide?
It's a good question you bring up, because when you look at it and you say that, because, again, we always used to joke about, like, looking at these schedules, where are the losses or where are the wins. I don't think they're even going to win a game this year. Look, we know an NFL team is probably going to win 4 games when we think they won't win any. But when I look at Alabama, I don't look at it and be like, well, A&M, Arkansas. Like, it doesn't look like it, but it's just, hear me out, the attrition of the SEC. You playing those games each and every week could weigh on you, where you have to bring your A game, and maybe you don't have it one day, and the other team does that. So looking at their schedule, and I say, well, at Tennessee could be tough. How many times have we said that in the past, where we thought Tennessee was rising to the occasion, only gets slapped by 30 points by Alabama? So it's not one in particular week. It's just the SEC, where maybe Texas A&M, who has that extra juice in the offseason, where they were basically told, you guys don't recruit, you just pay players. And here we go, as we have this little rivalry building up between A&M and Alabama. Maybe that's the game. But for me, it's just the SEC. Running the gauntlet every week of playing quality football teams is hard enough to do.
That 6-game window, Arkansas, A&M, Tennessee, Mississippi State, LSU, and Ole Miss, those are all this is being in the SEC. Those are all programs that deserve your attention there. That is, it's tough to just assume every single one of those will be in the bag. But again, Bama is so good, I don't think I'm going to be willing to lay minus 150 on them to lose one of those games. Let's talk about the defending national champion, the Georgia Bulldogs. Now, the win total here is a little tough. It's a 10.5. It's minus 280 to the over. It is plus 230 to the under. I do not know who is laying minus 280 on this over. I'm sure, maybe it was a 10.5 and people bet it up, right? Could this thing flip to a flat 11? It might change the conversation a bit. Georgia opens up on a neutral, though, despite pretty much in their backyard against the Oregon Ducks. Eventually, they'll get to SEC play. You look through the slate, they are going to be favored in every single game that they play, almost assuredly. There's really only 2 spots you could even attempt to make an argument, because we know they're not going to be a home dog at any point on this schedule. What do you think about Georgia and the juicy 10.5 that sits on the board?
Yeah, it's interesting they put it at that terms because you'd like to say, like, oh, they lost a lot last year, which they did from their defense. But we always get into that notion where when you're an upper echelon team, like a national championship SEC team, all you do is reload 4- and 5-star players on the defense. I'm not all that worried. You do get Stetson Bennett back this year, a guy that won the national championship. And I think most Georgia fans, I say this facetiously, actually wish he would just move on, transfer, or retire at this point, which is insanity. He finally delivers you a national championship, and you say, oh, somebody else behind him must be much, much better. But there is a good feeling here about this team if we're looking at the overall schedule, because that's how it's going to play out. If you're playing Alabama each and every year in your scheduling, that's going to hurt you. But as we know, they play in an opposite division. They don't get Alabama. So looking at the games they have that are tough, Kevin, Florida, Tennessee, UK, and Oregon. But if we look at these games all together, the only true road game is at Kentucky, who we'll see what Kentucky has this year, but it's always nice. Neutral site game. You know, you take a look at Florida, which gets played in Jacksonville. You're taking a look at the game against Oregon, which I believe is in Atlanta, which is de facto home game for you, considering that Oregon is on the West Coast and you got to drive like 10 minutes, it feels like, to get to the game. And then you take a look at the other games that they have. Tennessee is a home game. This schedule really sets up well, to be honest with you, Kevin, for this team to make another run. I just don't think they have as many horses as they had last year, which is really going to be the deciding factor. But that juice, I'm not taking it. But I got to tell you, this could be an 11-win football program. It really could be this year.
Again, they're going to be favored in every single game that they play, right?
Yeah.
They're, laying 17.5 against Oregon. However, they did lose a lot of talent, right, to the NFL off of that defense, as you would anticipate with how good it was. You have to... This is where these win totals are tricky. And we did them last year, right? And you learn the lessons. It's easy to pull up the best teams in the country and go win, win, win. And you go, oh, great. Everything, this is perfect. Donnie, you don't just always rip off unbeaten seasons, right? And it's then hard to rip off back-to-back unbeaten seasons. We just said, how many people would have guessed significantly higher? How many regular seasons has Nick Saban been unbeaten since 2010? People would, I don't know, at least half
Probably
of them?
said 10.
6?
Yeah,
right, yeah. All of them, right? 3 years,
Yeah.
Donnie. That's so much lower than you ever would have imagined. But the problem is we're not dealing with an 11. We're dealing with a 10.5. Is there a second loss? I think the Florida, Tennessee, Mississippi State, Kentucky back four stretch there is pretty tough.
Yeah.
But losing 2 of those games, I wonder how much of a game Oregon can give Georgia. But again, I think then you're going out and you're betting in the, you're betting the money line. You're not dealing with a win total there as well. So do I think going under 10.5 at plus 230 is worth a shot? It can be. But I'd much rather a normal 11 sit there, which would be solid. Also, they're not up right now. And we haven't seen the miss side on the FanDuel Sportsbook for missing the college football playoff, Donnie. But I do think this is going to be a team that misses out on the college football playoff. 1 regular season loss, losing to Alabama in the SEC title game, keeping them on the outside of the college football playoff picture. Let's hit some favorite win totals here. And I'm actually really, really excited. I'm always excited, but this one in particular, I'm very excited to see your approach to your favorite win total here in the SEC because I think they're a fascinating group.
They are a fascinating group. It's South Carolina. So you look at it and say, okay, second year under the regime for young Beamer, they should be able to get it together. We're not asking for a lot, Kevin, right? 6.5, heavily juiced here. I'm actually going to the under, and that's at a minus 135 price, and here's why. Spencer Rattler's coming over. And look, we know the hype on Spencer Rattler. It's supposed to be let's start him at Oklahoma, and before 3 or 4 games, he's probably going to win the Heisman Trophy, maybe win multiple Heisman Trophies. It didn't work out there. So now he finds himself at South Carolina. But also, if we're looking overall at this team, you're taking a look, offensive starters back 7, defensive 7. Hey, Donnie, that's a good foundation based on a team there that went 7-6 last year that would have cashed that same over-under this year. But here's the way I look at it. I understand Spencer Rattler's ultra talented, but you go to Lincoln, Nebraska to play for you go to play for Lincoln Riley in Oklahoma. You're playing teams like Nebraska and bad football teams. Let me work that into the equation here. You're supposed to just print. You're supposed to print money out there. You're supposed to do whatever you want and have monster games, and he couldn't do that. So I'm led to believe that he's supposed to come over without an offensive genius and dominate at the same level. But the all-important schedule, Kevin, that we like to take a look at here. Let's look at the early season. Now, granted, you need 7 to cash this in. I don't think they get there. You're going to pick up a win against Georgia State. You're going to pick up a win against Charlotte and South Carolina State before you get past October the 1st. That's 3 wins, which means you need 4 wins the rest of the way to cash that ticket. Seems easy, right? Not so fast. Those other games, Kevin, at Arkansas, Georgia, at Kentucky, Texas A&M, Missouri, at Vanderbilt. That's that key 2-game swing that you're going to need there. At Florida, Tennessee, and at Clemson to end the regular season. I'm banking on they can't get that 7th win because of how tough that schedule is. I'm not saying they're not actually a better team or an improved team from last year where they won 7 games. I just don't think they can navigate through this schedule enough to get those 7 wins, Kevin.
I think if you are on the under, which you are, you're hoping that the max they see is 5 with 3 to play. At Florida, at Clemson, home against Tennessee. If they need 2 of those, you're going to feel like that's a real uphill battle. I'll give you my favorite SEC win total. I mentioned this on college football today, but I'm not worried about running it back because it involves a compliment and a shout-out to my co-host here in Donnie. This is something that I learned when we were on In-Play Sports Tonight betting live baseball. Team, total would pop up and be a flat 2. Donnie goes, yeah, I think they can get to 2. Like, they have to get to 3. He goes, no, they don't. They have to get to 2. And when they get to 2, then we're free rolling. That is the approach here on the Arkansas win total over 7. I don't see any world in which Arkansas doesn't get to 7. Now, I think they can get to 8, 9. Honestly, I think they can even get to 10. But I don't see any world in which they cannot get to 7. The front 3 games, Cincinnati, South Carolina, Missouri State. Touchdown plus favorite in all. The Cincinnati numbers moved a bit. The last 4 games, Liberty, home versus LSU, home versus Ole Miss, and at Missouri. Again, touchdown favorite in all of those games. You don't have to be 7-0, but 6-1, find something in the middle, which is certainly going to include games that they're favored in, and that is more than reasonable. Arkansas, the Razorbacks, over 7 wins. That's the SEC, and that is almost all of the early line with just one more segment to go. Make sure you listen up.
Your heart's racing. The clock's running out. It all comes down to this. We're talking pregame. 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 Get locked in with Game Time Decisions. Your hosts, Gabe Morency and Cam Stewart, will get you ready for game time. Everything you need to know before a game goes off the board, with the bet slips to back it up. Make your best bet with live odds updates, late breaking news, up-to-the-minute injury reports, and real-time analytics from inside the sportsbooks. All the odds, all the action, from sports wagering insiders and industry pros like Donnie Rightside, Cam Lou, Cousin Sal, the Pro Football Doc, Dr. David Chow, and more. Get the winning edge every weekday afternoon from 6 to 7 p.m. Eastern, 3 to 4 Pacific. It's Game Time Decisions. Only on Sports Grid. The early line.
There's too many question marks for me, DRS. The talent drop-off that he is dealing with from those dogs over at Clemson and what OU is going to have on the defensive side of the football is quite a bit. Donnie, since when is OU not just filling out, right? At least first team all offense. That's just not the way this group lines up here. Too many question marks for me year one. The schedule's too easy to go under the 8.5.
Only on Sports Grid. The morning after.
Where do you rank the Nets in the Eastern Conference? Are they a top 3 team, a top 5 team? Are they the favorites in your mind?
I think Boston's better than them. I think Philadelphia's going to be a resurgent team. Look for them to be better. And listen, folks, they don't have an easy start. New Orleans, Toronto, Memphis, Milwaukee, Dallas to begin the season. There's too many unknowns with this team. I think you go under 52.5 for the Nets.
The Sports Grid Network. Pharrell, coast to
I
coast.
think both the Braves and the Mets are playoff teams. They are two of the top three best teams in the National League, and quite frankly, neither of them are going to get the bye. The bye is going to the Los Angeles Dodgers, who are by far, not kind of the best team in baseball, by far a wide variety and margin the best team in Major League Baseball. They're going to get the bye, so one way or the other, the Mets are going to be in a situation that they're going to have to grind through all of October, as are the Braves.
The Sports Grid Network.
If you want to pick like a pro, you need to be in the know. The future of sports gaming is now, and we take you inside the lines, breaking down all the action and what it means for your bet slip. Turn down the game and tune into Sports Grid Radio. Other networks talk sports talk, but we walk the walk, right up to the window. Sports Grid Radio.
Listen free on the Sports Grid Radio app, iHeart, or TuneIn, or catch us on Sirius XM Sports Grid Channel 159.
All right, final segment of the day here for the early line on a Monday. Sirius XM Channel 159 right here on the Sports Grid Network. Donnie Rightside here, and Kevin Walsh is always setting the table from 7 to 9 a.m. before we hand it over to the morning after. And on Mondays, I will make my appearance with Ben Stevens, so make sure you stay tuned to that. Now, everybody was enthralled with week 0 of college football. A lot of NFL cuts coming down the pipeline tomorrow on a Tuesday. Week 1 of college football, and then off to week 1 of the NFL regular season, starting with that Thursday night banger of a game. But before we do that, Major League Baseball is still in the midst of their season, and lots left to be decided. But having said that, also some other big news. How about this one? Major League Baseball minor leagues looking to unionize. Listen up. Minor league teams looking to unionize. Not the teams itself, but the players say enough is enough. We don't get paid enough. We work too many hours. We're helping you out. And minor league baseball apparently is profitable. Now, having said that, from a major league standpoint, if you are the major league teams, you like minor league baseball because it keeps those restrictions down. You can't earn too much money, at least for the majority of those. And you use that talent where you might be able to sell some seats in the minor league system before you get those players moving up to AAA and into Major League Baseball, where they've honed their skills over the past 5 years, and now the Major League Baseball teams can benefit from that. But be careful with what you wish for here, because the salary structure here is if you do get drafted in Major League Baseball, at least in the top 10 rounds, you get broke off with some pretty good change. Does that come into play? And also, if you do have union wages, as we like to say, do Major League Baseball teams say, okay, that's fine and good. Rookie ball, yep, that's gone. Single A, that's gone. Lower A, that's gone too. Instructional league, that is gone as well. And quite frankly, we don't need single A altogether or double A. We'll just use triple A here, which limits the amount of jobs that some of these Major League Baseball players, or should I say minor league baseball players, aspiring to be Major League Baseball players will have. We'll see what comes of it here, but looking to unionize, we'll see if that's a win or loss proposition for the minor league players. What a great show we had on the docket today. Now make sure you stay tuned to Ben Stevens and the morning after, coming up right now on the Sports Grid Network.